What if you call 911 for help, and the help turns into a homicide?
That's what happened to Sonya Massey. Tonight we examine who killed her, and why she was killed by the system sworn to protect her. This episode contains descriptions of a real killing inside a home. We rely on public records, official body cam footage, and first-hand reporting. No speculation, prompt listener discretion. Welcome back, Dark Detectives.
The house where Sonya Massey lived became her tomb, and the uniform that arrived turned deadly.
When the protector becomes the predator, that's a whole other level of sinister.
This is dead serious and sinister.
It was just before 1 a.m. on July 6, 2024. Sonya Massey, 36, home alone, terrified. She dials 911. Reporting, banging on the door, and hopeful for help.
Instead, she got armed deputies who treated her with fear, bullets, not empathy.
The scene starts quiet. 2 deputies arrive, shine lights through a broken window, knock multiple times. Sonya opens the door, softly greeting them and explaining she's just panicked from what sounds like mental distress.
Let me repeat, she called for help. She invited them in.
Before the headlines, before the body cam footage, Sonya Massey was simply Sonya, a 36-year-old mother of 2 teenagers. She grew up in Springfield, Illinois. Family called her a joy bringer, the one who cracked jokes at Sunday dinner, who knew everyone's favorite dish, who prayed over the house every night before bed.
And let's be clear, she wasn't just another name. She was somebody's baby girl, somebody's best friend, somebody's safe space. And in one night, the system ripped all of that away.
Sonya worked hard her whole life, balancing motherhood with jobs to keep the lights on. Church was her sanctuary, gospel music her therapy. Friends said she could turn a bad day around with one laugh. She wasn't perfect. None of us are, but she carried her heart on her sleeve.
And for the record, that's what was in that kitchen that night. Not a threat, not a suspect, a mother, a believer, a human damn being trying to make it to the next day.
In the days leading up to July 6th, her family noticed signs of anxiety and paranoia, likely a mental health crisis. Her mother even made calls to 911 asking for help for Sonya earlier that week. The dispatcher never flagged those calls to the deputies who responded to her 911 call that night.
So the system knew she needed care and compassion. And what did it send her? A man with a gun and an itchy trigger finger. Bravo.
Her kids described her as the strongest woman we knew. Her father said she was my angel on earth. Family members still set an extra plate at Sunday dinners because that seat at the table feels too empty.
And that's what we lose in stories like this. Not just a life, but a heartbeat in a family, a voice in the community, a light in the dark. And no badge, no courtroom, no dollar amount can even replace that.
The man who pulled the trigger was 30-year-old Sean Grayson, a rookie on paper, but his record was already stained before Sonya Massey ever dialed 911.
Spoiler, those stains weren't coffee.
Grayson bounced through 6 different law enforcement agencies in 4 years. Think about that. 6 badges, 6 sets of supervisors, a resume that looked less like career growth and more like a game of hot potato.
If you get passed around that much in law enforcement, honey, it's not because you're in demand. It's because nobody wants the liability.
Before Sangamon County, he worked at the Logan County Sheriff's Department. He lasted a single year. Internal records shows complaints about aggression, insubordination, and a pattern of escalating minor incidents. He resigned under scrutiny in April 2023.
And what does Sangamon do when they see all those red flags? Hire him like a bargain bin cop clearance sale.
His background didn't just raise eyebrows. It should have raised alarms. He had 2 DUI arrests before wearing a badge, and according to military records, the U.S. Army dismissed him for serious misconduct.
DUIs, dishonorable discharge, complaints. This man wasn't a hero in the making. He was a lawsuit waiting to happen. And then he happened, right in Sonya's kitchen.
He joined Sangamon County in May 2023. Barely 14 months later, he's indicted on first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and official misconduct. The sheriff's office called his actions outside training.
Outside training? No, baby. This was the training, the unofficial one. The shoot first, justify later. Training that gets black bodies buried and families broken.
What we know now paints a chilling picture. A department with a history of ignoring red flags hired a deputy with a history of waving them, and Sonya Massey paid the price.
And let's not forget, systems hire people like him because they fit. That's the real indictment.
Body cam footage released shows Sonya greeting deputies peacefully. She's anxious, fumbling her ID, apologizing, even expressing love. I love y'all as she searches.
She's human. She tries to comply, but compliance doesn't guarantee survival, especially with boiling water in a pot and a deputy who sees a threat in steam.
When she mentions Jesus, fears break loose. Grayson yells, "Drop the pot." She backtracks. Then he screams, "I'll shoot you in the face." She ducks, then attempts to raise it again. 3 shots ring out. One hits her head fatally.
A black woman apologizing over boiling water loses her life. The horror is in the lens, how he framed her as dangerous, and how quickly he pulled the trigger for that narrative.
Picture Sonya opening that door in a towel. Visible here on body cam, terrified but inviting help.
Then Grayson seeing her on the camera, weapon drawn, rage boiling over steam.
The moment Sean Grayson's gun went off, the story split in 2. What actually happened in Sonya's kitchen, and what the system would try to make it look like.
Because let's be real, the cover-up machine starts faster than the ambulance.
Within hours, the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office issued a vague press release. The language: an officer-involved shooting occurred after a subject became combative. No mention of mental health. No mention of her being the one who called for help.
Combative? Sis was holding a pot of hot water, not a machete, not a gun, not a manifesto, a damn pot.
But Illinois State Police immediately seized Grayson's body cam. They knew the optics were bad. Within 24 hours, they opened a full officer-involved death investigation.
Translation: we have to clean this mess up before CNN gets here.
The footage didn't just tell a story. It obliterated the sheriff's narrative. It showed Sonya's apologizing, expressing love, ducking in fear as Grayson screamed he'd shoot her in the effing face. That line alone shifted the case from tragic mistake to potential murder.
Nothing says, "I feared for my life," like threatening to blow someone's head off over boiling water.
Within 2 weeks, ISP recommended charges. State's attorney Dan Wright said the evidence met the threshold for first-degree murder and aggravated battery with a firearm.
They didn't just see a bad shot, they saw intent, they saw rage, and they saw a badge used as a weapon, not a shield.
Behind the scenes, there were whispers of a bigger problem. Records leaked showing Sangamon County hired Grayson despite knowing about his Logan County complaints and DUIs. The Illinois DOJ launched a secondary probe into hiring practices.
Translation: oops, we hired a walking liability. Guess who gets to pay for that mistake? Oh right, Sonya did, with her life.
Sonya's family cooperated with investigators from day one. They demanded the body cam be released publicly. Without that footage, this story would have been spun into oblivion. Just another unruly suspect headline.
But Sonya wasn't unruly. She was scared. And that video didn't just catch her death, it caught the truth.
By August 2024, Grayson was arrested and charged. The sheriff's office quietly updated its use of force policy, adding mandatory crisis intervention steps and a pot is not a threat training module. No joke, it's literally in there now.
Imagine being so bad at your job, they have to make a PowerPoint slide to explain boiling water won't kill you.
The DOJ reforms include independent mental health response units, but they're still being phased in. For Sonya, they came too late.
Systems don't fail. They function exactly how they were designed, and Sonya's story is the proof.
By September 2024, the case of State of Illinois versus Sean Grayson hit the docket. The charges: first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. If convicted, Grayson faces 45 years to life.
45 years sounds heavy until you remember Sonya's sentence was death.
His defense team tried every trick in the book, arguing split-second decision, painting Sonya as irrational and threatening, and even filing a motion to suppress the body cam audio, the very tape that captured him screaming, "I'll shoot you in the fucking face."
Oh honey, you can't unsay "shoot you in the face" once the internet's heard it. That's not a defense, that's a confession with reverb.
Prosecutors countered the frame-by-frame analysis, expert testimonies on use of force, and mental health advocates who hammered one point home. Sonya was the caller, not the criminal.
Say it louder for the people in the back. She called for help.
In February 2025, Sangamon County approved a $10 million civil settlement with Sonya's family. The county's statement read, "This settlement is not an admission of liability, but a recognition of the family's loss."
Translation: we're not saying we were wrong, but here's 10 million reasons why we were.
The payout doesn't end the criminal case. Grayson's trial is set for late 2025 in Peoria after a venue change due to publicity. Prosecutors are seeking the maximum sentence, citing extreme and reckless disregard for human life.
Maximum? Baby, the maximum would be bringing Sonya back. Everything else is math.
If convicted on all counts, Grayson won't see freedom again until his 70s, if ever. But Sonya's family has said no verdict will feel like justice.
And that's the part the court can't fix. You can't sentence grief, you can't parole trauma, you can't appeal a funeral.
Why didn't dispatchers note or relay the mother's earlier mental health calls? Protocol failed or racism at play?
Why escalate when a pot is offered? Because it wasn't about water. It was about power. Systemic fear of vulnerability wore a badge in her house.
Do reforms matter if they are only reactionary? Will they prevent the next Sonya, or is this just another viral tragedy?
She called for help. She deserved humanity. Her name demands accountability. And we, Dark Detectives, we will not let her story fade.
Thanks for listening tonight. If Sonya's story haunted you, let it drive action, demanding mental health response, transparency, and justice.
If you'd like to help, consider texting or sharing these resources. National Center for Victims of Crime, victimsofcrime.org, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, NAACP-LDF.org, or the local mental health advocacy and reform groups. Stay curious, stay cautious, stay sinister.
Bye.